Today's lesson 9-5 is on how to find the area of circles. Just to briefly review some of the different formulas that we have for circles, we already learned how to find the circumference of a circle. And there were two formulas for that. There was circumference equals pi times the diameter. And if you remember, diameter is the measurement that goes all the way across and makes the circle look like a Pokemon ball. And then if we know the radius, like we do in this picture, then we can use the formula C, circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius, since 2 times the radius is the same thing as the diameter. Think about two of your arms make up your diameter when we did the Banca-Says. Well, one of the sayings that I taught you was cherry pie delicious. This time we're going to talk about area. So apple for area, pies are 2. To find the area, we need to know the radius this time. So when we were finding the circumference, even though we had two formulas to figure out what the circumference was, we focused on using the one with the diameter. So we wanted the Pokemon ball. This time with area, we only want the radius. We want the half a Pokemon ball. And to find the area, you have to take pi times the radius squared, not pi times the radius times 2, because that would give you the circumference. You have to be careful. So what I encourage you to do is to go ahead and rewrite this. Instead of pi r squared, I want you to write pi times the radius again. So once you find the radius, you're going to write it twice. And you're going to multiply 3.14 times the radius. Since we're talking about area, your units are squared. So you want square units. If you don't include square units, your answer is incorrect. You don't want to miss points because you forgot to put that pesky little 2 onto your unit. Let's talk about question number 1. Question number 1 is a circle, and we are given the radius. Remember, our goal is to find the radius. From there, we can figure out the area. Since the radius is 9 centimeters, we can go ahead and plug it into our formula, pi r squared, or pi times r. Since r is equal to 9, I'm going to do 3.14 times 9 times 9. I need to see that step. Don't just type it into the calculator. When you do 3.14 times 9, you get 254 and 34 hundredths. Our directions say to round to the nearest tenth, so that would be 254 and 3/10 centimeters squared. Number 2, we're given the diameter, and remember we have to find the radius. So if I'm talking about the radius, I'm thinking of half of 10. Whenever I have the diameter, I just divide it by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so that means my radius is 5 millimeters. Since the diameter is 10, the radius is 5 millimeters. I'm going to plug that into my formula, pi times the radius. So 3.14 times 5. Plug those three numbers into the calculator, and I get 78 and a half. Rounded to the nearest tenth is still 78 and a half, but it's millimeters squared. Don't forget those units. Numbers 3, 4, and 5 don't have it stepped out, so let's practice writing our formula every single stinking time. Area equals pi times the radius. I'm given the radius already because the radius is the measurement from the center of my circle out to the outside edge. That way, I'm going to plug in 3.14 for pi times my radius, which is 11, times 11. Put those three numbers into the calculator, rounded to the nearest tenth, and I have 379 and 9/10 yards squared. So my final answer is 379 and 9/10 yards squared. Notice when I'm showing my work, I show the formula, then I show the numbers that I plugged in, and I have my answer. I do not want to see only that. If you show me only that, you're going to miss 4 points on your test because this is what I'm focused on. I need to know how you got your answer. If you choose not to show your work, you lose your ability to use your calculator. So don't ruin it for everyone. Show your work. Okay, I want you to try number 4 on your own. It's very similar to number 3. Try it out. We'll check it tomorrow. So number 4 is on your own. Number 5, we're still finding the area, so I'm going to write down my formula first. Area equals pi times the radius times the radius. And I have to check, do I know my radius measurement? Is it given to me in my circle? Well, this circle looks like a sideways Pokemon ball, so this is the diameter. If my diameter is 12 feet, then I need to figure out what my radius is, which would be half of that. That makes my radius 6 feet. So I have to do a little bit of math magic before I can get started on this problem. And it's not too difficult. That math magic is not too difficult. Plug in the numbers that I know into my formula. 3.14 times the radius of 6 times the radius of 6. Now really quick, if you notice, 6 times 6 is 36. That's why it's so important to write the radius twice, because if you did 6 times 2, you would have gotten 12, which is your diameter. And pi times your diameter is your circumference, not your area. So many students get that wrong because they just do 3.14 times 6 times 2. That's not right. It's 6 squared. And 6 squared means 6 times 6. So be very, very careful. That's why I emphasize doing pi times r times r. Anyway, plug those 3 numbers into your calculator, round it to the nearest tenth, and you get 113.0 feet squared. Last question, number 6. What is the area of a circle with the radius of 13 yards? We don't have a picture of a circle, but we sure can draw one. It gives me the radius, which is the distance from the center of the circle to the outside edge, and that radius is 13 yards. We're going to find the area, round it to the nearest tenth. So area equals pi times the radius times the radius. 3.14 times 13 times 13. Plug in both of those numbers, or all 3 of those numbers, and you get 530 and 7/10 yards squared, rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay, that does it for finding the area of a circle. That brings us to, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 formulas now that you need to have memorized. We're going to start doing our formula quizzes, so use those flashcards that we created for you and quiz yourself so that you get this all correct. Good luck!